Welcome to another WP content crawler video. Version 1.11 of the plugin comes with a feature called the filters. Yeah, the cat is right. We can say that about this new feature, although I feel sad for the bird. I will explain the filters first. Then we are gonna see a few examples. Let's start with the definition of a filter. By creating a filter, you simply say, if this happens, then do this. This is a filter setting, post data filters. It is one of the 6 filter settings available in the plugin. A filter setting can have many filters. This is a filter. A filter is composed of two parts: the if part or the condition part and the then part or the action part. In the condition part, you specify a condition that should be met so that the action part can be executed. So, the action part is executed only if the specified condition is met. Now, let's take a look at how we specify a condition. What a filter should do is defined by adding commands to it. You can consider a command as a simple instruction that tells the filter what to do. Now, let's add a command to the condition part. This is a condition command. A condition command results in either true or false. When it results in true, we say that the condition is met or the condition is satisfied. A condition command has a subject, a property, and a command. The subject is what you want to work with. Now, let's say that we want to work with the title of the post. To do so, we simply select the title. A property specifies what property of the selected subject you want to work with. Let's say we want to test how many characters the post title has. To do so, we simply select character length. A command specifies what to do with the selected subject's selected property. Let's say we want to test if the number of characters in the post title is greater than a number. To do so, we simply select greater than and we specify the number it should be greater than. Let's say 50. This is it. We define the condition that checks if the number of characters in the post title is greater than 50. We read this condition command as if the title's character length is greater than 50. This is the if part of if this happens, then do this sentence. Now, let's define the then part of the sentence. To do so, we simply add an action command to the action part of the filter. This is an action command. It has the same structure as a condition commands. However, instead of resulting in true or false, an action command performs an action. Let's say we want to add something at the end of the post title. Since we want to work with the title, we select title as the subject. For the property, we select value, because we want to work with the value of the title. In other words, the title itself. Now we will select a command that lets us add something to the end of the post title. Template command lets us do that. So we select template. In the template command, we define a template that will replace the original value. We can use the original value with wcc-item shortcode. So let's add the original value into the template by including the shortcode into the template. Now let's add long title to the template after the shortcode. By this way, we achieve our purpose of adding something to the end of the title. Okay, we are done with our filter. We read this filter like this. If the title's character length is greater than 50, then change the title's value to this. This is a simple filter with one condition command and one action command. A filter does not have to have a condition. You can add a filter with no condition. In that case, the action commands will be executed without checking a condition, so they will always be executed. On the other hand, a filter without an action command is useless. We said that this was a filter setting. A filter setting can contain many filters. You can add a new filter to this filter setting by clicking to Add New button. This is another filter. The filters are executed in the given order. This means that this new filter will be executed after the first filter is executed. Okay, now we know that a filter setting can have many filters. They are executed in the given order, and the filter has a condition and an action parts. There is one more important thing, though. It is the fact that you can specify when the condition and action parts of a filter should be executed. This can be done by changing the value of when option here. Now, let's say we want to test the condition when the post data is ready and execute the actions after translation. This means that the condition will be checked when the post data is ready, and the actions will be executed after the post is translated. So, you can simply check if something is true before the post is translated, and if the condition is satisfied, you can do something after the post is translated. You might ask, how should I know when exactly an event is executed? I'm glad you asked. Let's go to the documentation of the plugin. In the sidebar, let's select Site Settings page and then Lifecycle of Events page. This page shows in what order each setting is applied and each event is executed. Now, since we are working with Post Data Filter setting, it is related to the crawling of the post. So, let's go to the Post Crawl and Recrawl event section and scroll down until we find the name of the event we specified in the filter. At number 29, there is when the post data is ready event. It is executed after all the previous 28 items are executed. After that, at number 30, the post is translated, and then at number 31, the after translation event is executed. So, the when the post data is ready event is executed before the translation, and the after translation event is executed after the translation. Now that we know when exactly these events are executed, we can configure the when options of the filters with confidence. Okay, now that we know what the filters are, let's see the other filter settings. There are 6 filter settings available in the plugin. 3 of them are for the category pages, and 3 of them are for the post pages. Under the category tab, there is the filters section, where you can find all the filter settings related to the category pages. In the request filters setting, there are subjects and commands related to the request made to the target website's category page to collect post URLs. For example, you can check if the status code of the response is 404, not found. Then you can send an email notification to yourself. In the page filters setting, subjects and commands related to the source code of the target category page are available. For example, you can test if an element exists, then you can clone an element or remove another element. The data filters setting contains subjects and commands related to the data collected from the category page, such as post URLs and featured image URLs. For example, you can check if the post URL contains something and then find replace something in the post URLs. The same set of filter settings are available for the post pages as well. Let's activate the post tab and go to the filters section. The filter settings related to the post request and the post page are here. The post data filters setting is under the filters tab. This setting has its own tab because you will probably add many filters to this setting. Again, to see when these filter settings are executed, you can see when their events are executed by observing the lifecycle of events page in the documentation. Now, let's move on to the examples. The first example will be a simple one. We will check if the post title has more than 50 characters, and if it does, we will make it uppercase. I configured the site settings for a site. It just retrieves the title and the content of the post. Now, let's go to the post data filters setting and add our filter. We want to check if the title has more than 50 characters. To do this, let's add a condition command to the condition part of the filter. Our subject is the title of the post. We want to work with its character length property. We want to check if it is greater than a value. Let's enter 50 as the value of the greater than command. This says if the post title's character length is greater than. Now we want to make the title uppercase. To do this, we add an action command. We will change the title's value. As the command, we select make uppercase. Let's save the settings and test them by using the tester page. Let's test this URL first. When we go to the details section, we see that the post's title is uppercase. The filter setting explanations section contains the explanations of the filters. Let's examine the explanation of this filter. The condition block says that it is executed and its condition is met. Inside the condition block, there is the condition commands explanation. It also says that it is executed and its condition is met. When we look at the details of the condition command, we see that the subject that the command worked with is the post's title. There is also a message saying that the character length of the text is 88. 88 is greater than the value we defined, 50, so the condition is met. Because the condition is met, the action command is executed. The part on the right is for the then part of the filter, so it contains the explanations of the action commands. we can see that it is executed. We can also see that the command worked with the title as its subject. We can also see the value of the subject after it is modified in the modified subject section. It shows the subject as uppercase. So this means that it modified the subject and made it uppercase. At the top of each part, we can see the names of the events that executed each part of the command. They are both executed when the post data is ready. Finally, when we look at the title of the post, we can see that it is uppercase. Now, let's test a post having a title shorter than 50 characters. As you can see, the filter condition says that it is executed, but its condition is not met. When we look at the condition command, we can see that its condition is not met because the title has 34 characters. Because the condition is not met, the action command is not executed. When we look at the title, we can see that it is not uppercase. In this example, we will work with the tags of the post. The post I tested in the tester page has these tags. We want to add a word to the tags that have E in them. Let's go to the Filters tab and configure a filter. We will test if a tag's value contains E. Then we will add the word matched at the end of it by using the template command. In the template, we add wcc-item shortcode, which will be replaced with the subject's value, and append -matched to it. Now let's save the settings and test them. When we check out the prepared tags, we see that all of them have the word matched in them, even if they do not have E character. But that was not what we wanted. We want to add the word only if the tag contains the character E. Let's fix this. To do that, we simply check only the items matched by conditions checkbox available for the action command. When we check this, the plugin looks for the condition commands that have the same subject as the action commands. Then it retrieves the values matched by them and considers only those values. In this case, the condition command has the subject tags and the property value, the same as the action command's subject and property. So, when we check the checkbox, we say that we want to work with the values matched by this condition command. Now, let's save the changes and test the settings again. Now, we can see that only the tags containing E character are appended the word matched. When we check the explanation, we can see that the action command denied the tag that is also denied by the condition command. In this example, we are going to work with the tags again, but we will see the condition operators. These tags both end with butcher. We are going to use this to build our example. Now, let's add a condition command and check if the tag's value ends with the word butcher in a case insensitive way. And let's check if the tag's value starts with the character at. Notice that we use the AND operator for the main condition block. Then, let's limit the tag's value to 5 characters and add 3 dots to the tag if it is cut. We want to use the tags matched by the conditions, so we check this checkbox. Let's save the settings and test them. Let's see, only the one that ends with butcher and starts with the add character is changed. When we look at the explanation of the condition block, we see that the ends with command matched 2 values, while the starts with command matched only 1 value. But there is one common value that is matched by both of the condition commands. Because the condition operator is AND, the values matched by the first and the second condition command were used. We can also see this by checking out the explanation of the action command. Now, let's change the condition operator to OR. By setting the operator to OR, we say that the condition is met if any of the conditions defined by the commands is met. Let's save the settings and test them again. Now, the subjects matched by either the first or the second command are used, because the condition operator is OR. You can also see that the background of the condition block is changed to yellow. which indicates that the condition operator is OR. In this example, we will work with a WooCommerce product. I configured site settings for an e-commerce site. The settings can find the regular price and the attributes of the product. Now, let's say we want to check if the regular price is greater than a certain value and if the number of attribute values is less than a number or an attribute's value matches a regular expression. If this condition holds, then we want to add 5 to the regular price, add sale tag to the post, and add the post to 2 different categories. Okay, now let's add a filter to do this. Let's start with the condition part. First, if the regular price's value is greater than, let's say, 2000. Now, let's add an inner condition block having the OR operator and add a condition command to it. This condition command checks if the product attribute values count is less than, let's say, 10. Let's add the second condition command to the inner condition block. This command tests if one of the product attribute values matches a regular expression. Let's enter Apple here. We are done with the condition part. For this inner condition block's condition to be met, we just need one of these two conditions to be satisfied, because we use the OR operator. When we look at the outermost condition block, we need both this condition and the inner condition block's condition to be met, because we use the AND operator for the main condition block. You can easily differentiate which condition block uses which operator by looking at their background colors. When the operator is OR, the background is yellow. Alright, now that we are done with the condition part, let's define our actions in the action part of the filter. First, we want to increase the regular price. So, our subject is the regular price. Since we want to perform a calculation, we select the calculate command. This command has a few options. First, let's define the formula that adds 5 to the value. Let's also set the precision to 2, because the prices have 2 decimal places. In other words, 2 numbers after the decimal separator. For the second action command, we want to add sale tag to the product. Let's select the post special subject here. This subject lets us select the commands related to the post itself. As the command, let's select add tags. Since we want to add sale as a tag, let's enter sale into the tags input here. For the last action command, we want to add the post under 2 different categories. To do this, we again select the post special subject and then add categories command. Our first category will be Apple. For our second category, we want to assign a subcategory. The main category will be technology. Then we add the subcategory by entering the greater than character. In other words, we separate the categories by the greater than characters. Then we enter the name of our subcategory, premium. Our filter is ready. Let's save the settings and test them via the tester page. Alright, let's examine the explanation of the filter. We can see that the main condition block is satisfied. The condition about the regular price is satisfied. Now, let's examine the inner condition block. It is also satisfied. However, only one of the conditions defined in the inner condition block is met. The number of product attribute values is not less than 10. It is 22. However, 2 of the attribute values match the regular expression. So, because the operator is OR, only one satisfied condition is enough to say that the condition block is satisfied. For the main condition block, both the condition command and the condition block to be satisfied, since we use the AND operator. So, the condition of the filter is met, and hence the actions are executed. Let's look at the actions now. The first action changed the regular price from $33.60 to $33.65. We can also see the final price in the product details section of the test results. The second action command added sale tag to the post. We can see it here. The last action command added the post to 2 different categories. We can see them here. The first one is Apple, while the second one is a subcategory of technology category, as it is shown here. We achieved our purpose. This example was to show you that you can create complex conditions and define multiple actions for a filter. In this example, we will see how to stop crawling a post and delete it. A few customers asked us if it was possible to delete a post when the post no longer existed in the target site. This command is added to cover that case primarily. This example will be a simple one, just to demonstrate this command. Now, let's add an action command to the post request filters setting. We select the special subject crawling that makes it possible to select the stop and delete the post command. When this command is executed, the crawling operation is stopped immediately, and if there is a post existing in your site for the current post URL, it is deleted immediately. This happens when a post is being updated or, in other words, recrawled. So let's save the site settings and test them via the tester page. As you can see, the details about the post is not shown. There is an information message that says the crawling operation is stopped by the command. You can notice that the message does not specify why exactly the command is executed. We can specify a reason as well. Let's add our reason to the reason option of the command. Let's write "for testing purposes" as the reason. Now, when we test again, we see that our reason is shown in the information message. This reason will also be added to debug.log file when you enable debugging feature of WordPress. So, it might be helpful to understand why the command is executed when debugging. Hence, it is recommended that you specify a reason so that you can understand why the post is not saved. This command also has delete URL option. When it is checked, the plugin will delete the target post's URL from the database. When it is deleted, the plugin can insert the URL into the queue if the URL is found in a category page. So, when you delete the URL, the post has a chance to be created in your site again. If you do not delete the URL, then the plugin will not create the post if it finds the URL in a category page again. Let's say you want to delete a post if it is not found when recrawling. To do so, let's add two condition commands to our filter. For the first one, we select crawling as the subject and is recrawling as the command. For the second one, we will check if the HTTP status code is equal to 404. 404 status code is for the not found pages. So, if the target site returns a 404 response, it means the post is not found. Let's also change our reason to the target post is not found when recrawling. That's it. Now, if the plugin retrieves a not found response from the target post page when recrawling, it will delete the post from your site. In this example, we will see how to send an email notification. Let's say we want to send an email notification only if the product's price is greater than 2000. So, let's add this condition command. Now, let's say that we want to set the post status as pending to indicate that the post needs a review before publishing. Let's add an action command that does this. Our subject will be post, and the command will be set post status. For the post status, we select pending. Let's add the action command that sends an email. The subject is notification, because the email command is available for this subject only. The command is send email notification. If we do not configure any option of this command, the email will still be sent. Let's save the settings and test the post via the tester page. Note that WordPress should be correctly configured to send emails. Otherwise, the plugin will not be able to send an email. So, please make sure your WordPress installation is correctly configured to send emails. When we check the test results, we see that the condition is met. The post status is set as pending and an email is sent. Let's check the email now. This is the default notification email. Because we did not configure the command's options, the defaults are used. We can create our own title and message template. Let's do so. For the title, we enter a test email. For the message template, we enter a product having a price greater than $2,000 is created. And we add the request URL at the end of the message. The request URL is the target post's URL. Let's also define a notification identifier. A notification identifier is used to keep track of when the last email notification is sent. The purpose is to reduce the number of emails sent to your email address. It might be annoying to receive an email every minute. If you do not enter an identifier, the number of emails will not be limited. You can enter any value as the identifier. Let's enter high-price-alert. We can also specify the email interval. Let's enter 20, meaning that we want to receive at most one email within 20 minutes. Let's save the settings and test again. Now, the email has the title we specified. However, it has test in front of it. When testing the settings, the title and the message of the email are prefixed to indicate that the email is sent for testing purposes. When we look at the body of the email, we see that it contains the message we configured as well as the URL of the post. Now, let's test the settings again. This time, the email is not sent, because the last email has just been sent. Since we specified that we wanted to receive at most one email in 20 minutes, the plugin did not send the email. This is the title or short description of the filter. You can enter anything here to understand what the purpose of the filter is. You will see this in tester pages test results as well. This is the collapse button. When you click this, the filter is collapsed and its summary is shown. The summary is much shorter, so if a filter takes lots of space or you do not want to mistakenly change a filter, you can collapse it. You can click this button to show or hide the details of each command. You can disable a filter by using this button. When a filter is disabled, it will not be executed. You can see that the background turns red when the filter is disabled. You might want to disable a filter when debugging your site settings to see the effect of the filter. The condition and action parts of the filter are shown side by side. If you do not prefer this, you can disable the side-by-side view. In that case, the parts of the filter will be shown in a vertical layout. You can move a filter up and down. Since the filters are executed in the given order, you might want to change their order depending on the circumstances. You might want to clone a filter. You can use this button to do so. When you click this button, an exact copy of the filter is added to the filter setting. If a filter slightly differs from another, you can clone that filter and change the clone's options. You can also clone a command by clicking to this button. You can move the commands up and down. The commands are executed in the given order as well, so you might want to change their order. If you want to move a condition command into a condition block, you can use this button. You can use this button to move a condition command out of a condition block. You can delete a command, a condition block, and a filter via their delete buttons. You can export a filter setting by copying the text shown here. Then, you can use the import button of the same filter setting existing in another site settings to import it. The imported filters will be added to the existing ones. You can disable a filter setting by unchecking the Enabled checkbox. If a filter setting is disabled, its filters will not be executed. You might want to disable a filter setting when debugging your site settings. You can see that the background color of all the filters becomes red when the filter setting is disabled. In case that you want to find out the controls of a filter or a command, or check out all the available subjects, properties, and commands, you can browse the documentation of the plugin. Let's see the documentation of the post data filters setting. It says that it is a filter setting and it is related to the data collected from the post pages. Now, let's click to the filter setting link. This page contains all the details about the filter. You can also reach this page by clicking to Common Options on the sidebar and then to Filter Setting. The numbers on the figure here match the last number of the subsection headings. For example, let's say we want to learn what number 12 is. We click the item that ends with 12 in the sidebar. So, number 12 is Collapse Filter button. You can read its explanation to learn what it does. Now, let's get back to the figure. Let's see what number 5 is. So, it is command container. At the bottom, we see a link, Filter Commands. Let's click to it. This page documents the things related to the commands. You can reach this page by clicking to Common Options on the sidebar and then to Filter Commands. At the bottom of this page, you can see the available subjects, properties, and condition and action commands. Now, let's observe Limit Words command. We can find the descriptions of the command's options and a few examples that will help us understand what the command does. So, if you want to learn more about the command, you can read the documentation.